Bill here from Maple Leaf Enterprises with your DBA tip of the day. Going to stick this week to security. As I proceed through a number of different security audits, I'm being asked to perform these, and as I do them, I will slowly communicate back how I'm actually going through. This one's pretty simple and pretty straightforward, but should be the first place that you start. Is you want to go in and look at all the users in the database that are using default passwords from the original install. And you might sit back and say, well, geez, oh my God, that's DBA 101, isn't it? Well, yeah, it is. And you would not be surprised how many databases that I've logged in and these accounts still are using default passwords. And that goes from the smallest mom and pop shop using Oracle Standard Edition to the large S&P 500 company, with thousands and thousands of databases, and they still have databases using default passwords from the install. So let us get started. You're obviously going to want to log in. And there's two ways of doing this. You can actually go, and you want to go in as a user, Oracle user and or system user, someone that has access to the dictionary. And we'll talk about the dictionary in a different video here. You're going to want to go into SQL Plus. I always go in as sysdba. Shame on me. All right, and then you're going to want to run this query that is going to give you a list. If I could spell select right, it's going to give you a list of users that are all currently using the default passwords. And if you look at the query, it's pretty self-explanatory and pretty easy to remember, right? It's DBA users with default password is abbreviated. Now you can see I have 30 users in this database that are still using the default password. Now to make this a little cleaner, we'll do this. And it looks like product as well. And it looks like it's line size. Just do that. And then to make it even a little cleaner, just do that just to get rid of everything, and that should give us a nice clean report. You could spool this out if you want to into a file, and then you could actually begin going through here and changing passwords. Now normally these accounts should be locked and expired and not used, so someone would not be able to log into these accounts. Okay, and then you're also going to want to check with your security team before changing any passwords. Make sure that you're adhering to some kind of password security policy. Alphanumeric has to be a certain number of characters, blah, 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 blah. Something that's documented somewhere. You just don't want to go willy-nilly in here and just start renaming passwords. You want to kind of stick to something that's corporate in nature, so that at least the convention is there. You're also more than likely you're not going to want to have these passwords expire, right? You're not going to have to go in and do this every 3 months and changing these passwords, especially accounts that you're not going to use. So we'll do this in another video, but for now you're going to want to know these users, and then eventually what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to stick this group of users in one profile group. All right, and we'll talk about how to do that. And you stick all these users in one profile group and set the passwords not to expire. And there's a number of different parameters we can put in there to lock it down tight so that No one can actually get in here. The reason these accounts are default as well is because they are product accounts. As you can see, there's like spatial, or there's Oracle, an Oracle Sys user. There's actually Scott, which is a temporary, which is usually the Scott has been the, like, I guess the boilerplate user account with some base tables in there, kind of a sandbox since God knows when, I believe since version 7 or so. But you want to make sure that none of these have those default passwords, because someone can get in the database and hack your database. Now, even though they are locked and expired, they still may be able to get in with some kind of brute force type of thing. So anyway, this is usually a good place to start. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to probably run this query from like some kind of tool. Honestly, like I usually do it from SQL Developer. And why? Because I can actually save this like to an Excel file. And as I go through my security audit, I can actually bang all this stuff out into an Excel file that I can actually go back and reference as well. So it's a little easier to do it through. And I'm usually the last person to tell you to go use a GUI tool. But for doing these security audits, it's definitely easier to run those queries in this tool just because of that. So that's a good place to start. So you start there. That in itself can actually be a few days worth of work right there, because you're going to want to go in and verify whether or not these accounts are actually even being used. You know, you might actually even be working on a database where they're using spatial, right? So do you want to change the password? No, probably not, because if they're using it, they're logging in as that user. So just be careful, like I said. So this in itself could give you a couple of days of work. Just getting started on this, password conventions and whatnot. So that is pretty much it for that. So again, security is important, and you want to start with the low-hanging fruit. And this is probably about as low-hanging as you can get, is starting with the users with default passwords. Okay, so have at it and start with that. And we'll try tomorrow to go and get a little deeper into this security thing and take the next step and what to do as far as locking down. Probably talk about how to lock down the dictionary. So again, hope this helps. DBA tip of the day. Have a good one, and hope you stop back tomorrow.